Welcome to this KSAT 12 special, looking back at the fall of Saigon 50 years later. You know, 50 years is a long time. Memories fade, things are lost, history is forgotten. We did not want that to happen to the men and women from San Antonio who served in Vietnam. We are standing here at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, just outside the Tobin Center. Almost 10,000 people were right here in 1986 when this plaza was dedicated. More than 2.5 million Americans served in the Vietnam conflict. More than 58,000 U.S. lives were lost. Here in San Antonio, the Edgewood School District had the most Latino American casualties of the entire war. The Edgewood class of 1967 had 14 deaths in 1968 alone. The connection between Edgewood and Vietnam is where we begin our coverage tonight. We sat down with Edgewood veterans who say duty was their driving force, and they meet every week to share and support one another, tied together by the terror that was the war in Vietnam.
When I say Vietnam to you, what do you think of?
Wow. Friends I lost.
Bad place, very bad place.
What do you think of?
A lot of emotions.
My initial gut feeling is, well, why were we in Vietnam? I'm sure we're stopping communism from spreading, right? So that was my whole thing. I didn't really understand the protest. War in itself is unpopular. The Vietnam War only because, you know, I was 19, 20 at the time, and all my peers were protesting. You know, they say, hey, the draft, I'm going to burn my draft card. Mm-hmm. Well, why? Hey, it's immoral, you know, and I don't want to go to a war that I don't believe in. For me, being the naive 20-year-old, I wasn't the wiser. I got drafted, I win. When I arrived in Vietnam, you're coming in on a plane. I flew into Cam Bay, and we were coming in for a landing, and then the pilot is saying, hey, we're going to taxiing in. If you feel the plane coming in for a landing and we take off, that means we're under attack. So we're flying into Vietnam, you know, cold turkey. Well, guess what? We come in and take off again. So we were under attack. Right away, you know, we had an air base in Long Binh, and which was always being attacked. You're there, you know, doing your job, and you sort of just get numb, you know, to incoming rockets, shooting your weapon and stuff. You know, I was not in the front line, but I was in a combat zone.
We got hit one time by an ambush on a river up there close to the Ben Hoa River, which separates North and South Vietnam. I was in a riverbed. There was bullets hitting all over me like this, and I felt like there was a shield right around me, because the rocks breaking from the bullets were hurting me more than the bullets, and they were shattering. So we lost 4 guys that time. We went out on a detail operation, and we got hit both ends and in the middle. And of course, he's a radio man, and we got like 3 Tricoms right in front of us. Well, I didn't have a radio, all I had was my light back, so I was light enough that I could jump away and avoid the explosion, but he had his backpack plus the radio. He couldn't move fast enough. Of course, he took the brunt of all 3 grenades. It just totally blew the side of his body. We were going up a hill one time, and again, another U-shaped ambush, and all of a sudden I hear a rocket come by, and the guy next to me gets his head blown off. Literally gets his head blown off. He was standing, the only thing was left was the right side of his jaw right here.
On our very first sortie, we lost a plane. We lost 2 pilots and 3 crew members. That was our first sortie. We were constantly around the clock flight operations. And then also fishing pilots out of the water, that kind of stuff. The time came when we went to general quarters at one time. It was in late April, early May. The Marines were having a hell of a time in Hue. They called us in. They needed gasoline, ammunition, supplies, and we took on the dead and wounded. That was tough.
We're here today to recognize and honor the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
We had a lot of people that duty was their driving force right out of high school.
And the thing is, you can see that every Memorial Day, it's the same family since, 1983, when they first started doing that show up for the roll call.
I look at it as thank God that I was spared, because so many weren't. In every memorial, I see the mothers, the grandmothers, brothers and sisters related to the ones that didn't come back. That could have been me. You know, I would have never had my daughters. I would have never married my wife, and so on. And the memory keeps on coming. You know, it just takes you back. You know, and so grateful. And a lot of times with that, God, why me? Why was I spared?
All right.
We're waiting for this guy. Limo just drove up.
We get together every Wednesday at various little hole-in-the-wall restaurants. We serve good hot coffee, good tacos. These group of folks are no different from when they were and I was 20 years old.
You went to Holy Cross too.
Yeah, that one we used to call
Eater.
Heart of gold. There's definitely a brotherhood.
And we only meet for like a couple of hours for breakfast, for tacos, you know. But yet, if anybody's got anything to say, or we see somebody that needs to open up, you know, we'll pursue them.
They shared a common bond, and you can talk to each other and share, and you can understand the pain somewhat that they're going through. It's a bond.
This is the kind of stuff that we lived in. You look at us and you look at, we're all tattered and torn. This is one of those caves that they would have, you know, and the tunnels. Yeah, we didn't want to mess with it, so what we did is we got some C4 and we put it in and we blew it up instead of having. Normally we'd get the smallest guy with a flashlight, go in there and dig there, but the sergeant said, forget it, we'll just blow it.
Would you do it again?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat. Physically, I don't think I'll do it, but right here, absolutely.
Proud to say that I was not a draft dodger.
Yeah.
I proudly served, and to this day, I can tell you, Steve, that I would do it again. I would do it again.